Namaste everyone. As you know all, I am Jyoti Manor Budhare from Sri Venkateshwara College of Engineering, pursuing Computer Science Engineering in 4th semester. Today's topic is about rules of inference in subject Mathematics for CSE with subject code BCS 405. So now let's begin with our topic, that is Introduction to Rules of Inference. Then what is rules of inference? A rule of inference is a logical principle used to derive a conclusion from a set of premises or statements. These rules are fundamental to deductive reasoning, ensuring that if the premises are true, the conclusion is also guaranteed to be true. They are often expressed as argument forms that, if the premises are true, will always lead to a true conclusion. So, after seeing the concept or definition of rules of inference, we should know about the symbolic formulas for the rules of inference. In that, there are 7 main important rules. One by one, I'll tell that rules. First one is P or Q, known to be conjective simplification. Second one, P and Q, that is known as disjunctive amplification. In third, P implies Q or Q implies R, known to be syllogism, which is very important in rules of inference. Next one is P of P implies Q, known to be modus pons, and negation of Q of P implies Q, known as modus tollens. P is also known as one rule, that is addition. And the last one is about P implies Q or R implies S or P or Q are known to be constructive dilemma. Let's in next slide we will see the formulas with their each simplification. So now let's start the simplification for each formula one by one. First one is conjunctive simplification. If two statements P and Q are true, then their conjunction P and Q is also true. For example, if the sky is blue, known as P, are true, and the grass is green, known as Q, are true, then the sky is blue and the grass is green, P and Q is also true. In the second formula, that one is disjunctive amplification. If the disjunction P or Q is true, one of the disjunction P is false, then the other disjunct must be true. For example, if either Mike or Steve went to Harvard, P and Q, and Mike went to Stanford, negation of P, then Steve went to Harvard, that is shown by this formula disjunctive amplification. Here the third and fourth formula is about modus pons and modus tollens. We'll see modus pons first. If P then only Q or if Q then only P. Definition: if we have a condition statement, if P then Q, symbolically P implies Q and we know that P is true, then we can infer that Q is also true. For example, premise 1 is about if it's raining, then ground is wet. Premise 2 is it's raining. Then the conclusion will be therefore the ground is wet. In modus tollens, if P then Q not Q, therefore not P. Definition is if we have a condition statement if P then Q, symbolically P implies Q and we know that Q is false, then we can infer that P is also false. For example, premise 1 tells about if it's raining then ground is wet. Premise 2 tells that the ground is not wet. Then the conclusion will be therefore it's not raining. So now we'll see the other important inference rules. In that first one is addition. The addition rule of inference, also known as disjunction introduction, also you to add any disjunct to an existing statement. If a statement P is true, then the statement P or Q must be true regardless of the truth value of Q. In constructive dilemma, the constructive dilemma rule of inference is valid logical argument for the states. If P implies Q and R implies yes, and either P or S is true, then either Q or S must be true. In essence, if two additional or conditional statements are true and at least one of their antecedents is true, then at least one of their consequent must be true. In the simplification in the context of rule inference is rule that allows you to derive a simpler conclusion for a more complex statement. Especially if you have a conjunctive dilemma, you can infer either the individual component as true statements as it is. The next rule is about syllogism rule. It's the important rule in rules of inference. The formula is about if P implies Q and Q implies R, then P implies R. For example, if I study, it implies pass and pass implies happy, then study implies happy. A syllogism is a type of logical argument consisting of two premises and a conclusion, used to draw a valid conclusion from a general principle to a specific case. If the form of deductive reasoning, where if the premises are true and the argument is correctly stated, the conclusion must also be true enough. Examples in inference in reasoning are like premises. It is a raining and cold. I study lead to passing. Apply rules means conjunctive simplification. Inference it is raining. Modis ones infers I will pass. In conclusion, we will tell that valid inference pass based on the logical rules. You guys understand this video or this concept. So that's it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching my video. Please to like, share and subscribe. Thank you.